Hey everyone. Today, let's build your personal slash community care team. Hey everyone, it's Rushni of glamazini.com. I am a content creator. I am a special needs mom, and I am a coach for Black and West Indian women on a healing journey. I'm also a Black woman healing. I create humor filled healing spaces so that other Black women can heal too. What does that mean, Rashni? It means that I am perpetually unserious and perpetually serious all at the same time. You're welcome. I had this idea last week, and I'll talk about what happened last week real quick to jump on and talk about let's create our personal care team. And that is what I'm going to do today. And I'll fill you in on what that means a little bit more. But before that, let me just tell you what happened last week. My son was scheduled to have a very major surgery today, August 30th of 2024. He has been scheduled to have this surgery before. It was supposed to happen, I believe, May 30th. Um, and it a week before last week, I found out that the surgery team this time had nothing to do with us because last time it was because he caught a cold. The surgery team decided to postpone it until September. So last Friday, before I jumped on with you guys, I didn't. I decided to cancel, and that is why, because I was not okay. Being a mom of a son with significant medical needs is very trying, very trying. And if I'm being honest, much more trying than I ever display out here on the internet, and much more trying than I probably could even communicate without it being your lived experience. And so last Friday, when I got that message and I was doing all the prep, and there are all these moving parts with myself and my husband and all the people in our lives and events people are missing and plane tickets and the whole shebang, I had a meltdown. Okay. Not gonna lie, I came entirely unraveled because there were so many plates in the air trying to make sure all of the things were happening. And once again, this thing was moved. Eventually, I got it together. I am a huge believer now that you need to feel your feelings and let those things come up. And so that unraveling that I experienced actually was quite wonderful. And I had a reframe, and now we are back to his schedule surgery being in September. So we have a few more weeks, and we will begin the prep again and do the things and all the moving parts. Ultimately, if the surgery team tells me that it is not time to do my son's surgery and they are not ready, then I believe them. All right. So, anyway, if you are watching, I am live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Drop a pineapple in the chat and let me know where you are watching from, as well as a pineapple emoji because I love pineapple emojis. So, this idea for building a personal care team or community care team came from a lot of different angles. And so, let me break it down with you guys on what I mean by build your personal care team. And then let's actually do it. This is going to be like a healing out loud type of video where we work on it together. Okay. Um, so, let's start with where I got this idea from probably a month ago while living, or it might have been on one of my walks. I've been getting amazing downloads on my morning walks, breakthrough thoughts that have freed me from things that have bothered me for years, and breakthrough frameworks. It's quite wonderful, actually. So it might have been on one of my morning walks. I had this idea that reframing all of the humans that I collaborate with to create the life that I'm living as a personal care team. That's what I was calling it in my head. So instead of looking at life through the lens of I am not supported, choosing to reframe my life through the lens of I already have a support team, a personal care team, and then that reframe and that lens shift allowing me to expand that team. That was the genesis of this thought. Okay. So that was the first thing. It was a reframe from the defeating thought or the draining or more like negative thought of like I am not supported. I'm doing this all by myself and all those kind of things. Okay. The second inspiration for this video is Stephanie Perry. She is a professional house sitter. She is a co-founder of Exodus Summit. And she is my friend. And she always references a quote that she saw several years ago that shifted her perspective on what she was calling community care. So I looked up the quote because I remembered that she always said this thing about community care. And the quote was from a Facebook post by Nikita Valerio after a terrorist attack. And this poster typed out the sentence, shouting self care at people who actually need community care is how we fail people. And that was the second inspiration for this. The idea of community care. And that's why the video is called Let's Create Your Personal / Community Care Team, because my brain was calling it like a personal care team in my reframe. And then in Stephanie's recollection of this quote, and then ultimately looking up this quote, this lady brought up the concept or introduced the concept of community care as an intentional support network that we could all lean into. Yeah. So in an article I found, I think by, I don't remember the article's name. I'll put a link to the article if I remember to, so I can make sure it's quoted. It was making a distinction between self-care and community care, which I thought was so wonderful. So I'm just going to read it because it put the words out in a way that is perfect. Self-care is about individual caring for your own basic physical needs. I disagree with the physical part. I think it's just your own basic needs. And before I move on from in that quote, let me jump out of the quote. It is super important for the self-care component to exist. Yes. So I don't want this video to make it seem like I'm saying self-care is not a thing. If you've listened to me at all, and even if you haven't, I believe that healing is a return to wholeness. It's a return to the divine you that God intended for you to be. It is the ultimate act of self-care because it is a homecoming, a return to self, and a return to the whole integrated you. And I believe healing is something all of us must do to be able to show up better in the collective. I don't believe that sacrificing yourself entirely for the collective is of benefit to anybody. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying self-care is important, but today we are focused on community care. Self-care is about the individual caring for their own basic needs, whereas community care is focused on the collective, taking care of people together for everything from basic physical needs to psychological needs, even spiritual ones. Community care is a recognition of the undeniable collaborative and social nature of human beings and involves a commitment to reduce harm simply through being together. I thought that was a wonderful definition. The other thing I wanted to bring up, or that was an inspiration for this video, is I believe that, I've never said this out loud, so let me see if I could get this out. I believe that inherent in, how would I say? I believe that inherent is in showing up in the world in a feminine way. When I say feminine, I mean the energy of femininity, which differs from the energy of masculinity, which we both have both, and we both need both, and we both use both. Okay. Femininity, to me, my understanding and how I live it out in my life, has more to do with presence, the curation of environment, the curation of atmosphere, the being. Masculinity has more to do with action and doing. Okay. So I believe that community care is a higher expression of feminine energy. How do I say it? Because I believe that we are inherently, when we are operating in that space, wired to care for the collective. Hopefully that came out. I've never said that aloud out of my mouth. It's been like a thought that's jostling around in my head. So, anyway, those are the inspirations for this video where I just wanted to stop and give us an opportunity to elevate our awareness about our need for community support and care from a collective, not just to be givers of said care to others, but to be receivers of said care, and also to reframe for those who feel like they are unsupported through a lens of existing support that they already have that they are not providing for themselves. And then hopefully that reframe allowing permission to go out and get more of it. Okay. Let me see what you guys are saying in the comments. Maya said, let's talk about building a team because I heard a recent scary story about a lady being found dead days after her death. Yeah, the lady at Wells Fargo. Oh, yeah, you guys are talking about it. So, as Oliver said, Maya, it was the lady at Wells Fargo that was terrible. Um, yes. So, if you haven't heard this story, when I read the article, I don't remember how many days she had been passed away. And it's not uncommon for people to die at their jobs, which is a whole other story. Okay. Because let me tell you something. I just had a thought. I wish I would die at somebody else's desk working for them. God, don't do Jesus, God, don't. That's a whole nother conversation we're not going to have. Okay. Because I don't want to die sitting at somebody's desk. My heart goes out for her. But they found her days later. People were working in the building and people were even noticing and complaining of an odor. So I'm not even sure all of the nuance and details, but what we do know is somehow her life was set up so that when she went missing, we no one was looking for her. Her job wasn't checking for her. Her community support was either not there or not able to communicate with her work environment. I'm not sure how that happened. It was heartbreaking. As Oliver says, it just struck me that no one called to check on her or see why she hadn't come home. Shocking how isolated some people are. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, inherent in her story is a breakdown of community support. Okay, a breakdown of community support. Because let me say this. I'm going to give you guys a little story. Stephanie Perry, who I was talking about earlier, she is a house sitter, etc. And she goes live on YouTube every Saturday. Every Saturday, this woman goes live like clockwork. I woke up like I always do. I do what I always do. And when it was time for her to go live, I did not see her live. I checked community tab on YouTube, which is my first thought. If she's not live, she probably just posted something on the community tab and was like, something. I'm traveling. I'm sick. I'm something. Okay. I didn't see no post. I didn't see nothing. Okay. Me and this woman are friends. We just became friends a good year or so ago, maybe a couple years ago now. Okay. When I tell you I put a full APB out, there were text messages, there were WhatsApp messages. I was like, where is Stephanie? Immediately. Do you hear me? It didn't take that long for me to be like, this is not her normal activity. Have we found her? Where is she at? Is she just asleep? Is she not feeling well? That is indicative of her and I and all of us creating community where somebody's checking for you, right? And that's kind of what all of this is about. I mean, I'm going to go into some pretty typical, I guess, typical things that you wouldn't think to reframe. But yeah, S. Oliver, this woman went to work, passed away at her job, and was not found for days, to the point that there was an odor in the building and people, nobody knew. And that is heartbreaking to me, right? I want to create a life where if I don't show up, somebody is putting out an APB. Where's she at? And I want to giggle with them when I find them putting out the APB because I'm fine. Okay. I need people checking for me, like literally checking. So, okay. So let's talk about community care. And let me give you the reframe, because I don't want you to only think that community care is. So, okay, let me go back. I'm looking at my list here. So when I went on, I'm going to say a walk. When I went on a walk and I came back and I thought about this reframe of like, I actually have a support system. I am supported. I am supported. And not just by divine support, because I am divinely supported. I got that beautiful quote from attorney LaConya Murray when I interviewed her here on my page. I am divinely supported. But not only am I divinely supported, I am supported by people on my day to day. So when I came back to my house, I jotted down just off the rip, like my support system through an entirely different lens. So this is what I wrote down back then. I'm going to tell you. I have a woman primary care physician intentionally. I've had primary care physicians through my life, and my current state is I have a woman primary care physician. She has been spectacular. I've been with her for a couple years, and that was full intention. That was full intention on my part. Okay. I have a Black woman therapist, also fully intentional. I worked with a white male therapist well, first of all, I've had a lot of therapists over the years in different stages of my life, but the longest running one is over a decade with a white male therapist who's super impactful in my life. The man has changed who I am as a human being. A lot of the me that you guys see talking to you out here on the internet is heavily influenced by the work that I did with him. And during the pandemic, I was placed with a Black female therapist from the West Indies. And I'm a Black female from the West Indies. And when I tell you it was a life-altering experience to have somebody with such a similar lived experience, the depth of work that we could do and the clip at which we could do it was revolutionary. So I then went on after the pandemic, and after she was no longer in her position, and now I'm no longer at that job, to seek out a Black woman therapist. I also have a woman dentist. Y'all are like, not the teeth too. Now that was not intentional. And I'm not telling you guys that your community support team has to be reflective of you, although since we're talking, in my own lived experience, I have found that it is an entirely different world when you intentionally build your support team to expedite your experience. And what I mean by that is the closer the person is to my lived experience, the quicker we get to the crux of the matter. If you notice probably like a week ago, somewhere in a week, I put up a video that was somebody asking me when we should stop calling ourselves Black. And in my response, I tried my best to address the complexity of that question and the nuance of that question. But for me and my house, a person who used to hate labels, also loves cutting to the chase of finding somebody with my lived experience. Okay. So that has just been how I do it. And the closer I get to that lived experience, the quicker I find I can access unique and nuanced support from the person that I am adding to my team. And that is something that you can figure out if that's for you. Okay. I'm not getting any younger. And when I was in my 20s, I had time to explain it to you over 7 visits and have you gaslight me and not realize that I didn't have to have that experience. But now that I have become a woman, okay, I have put away childish things and I cut to the chase. And for me, sometimes that means finding a Black woman and sometimes a Black West Indian woman, which is pretty impossible here in Missouri. Anyway, I have Black women hairstylists, of course, you would say, but no, not necessarily. But yeah, that's part of my personal care team. I also wrote down that I have a woman personal trainer. I have two women accountability partners for different things in my life, one Black, one not. Um, the one who is not Black, she and I have a very similar lived experience happening at the same time, which I'm not going to talk about on the internet right now, but we aligned on that. And then I also have groups of humans that I consider to be support teams. So anyway, that was what I wrote down. And now I just wanted to spend the rest of this brainstorming, talking about elevating the idea of the possibilities for you to create your own personal care slash support slash community support team. Yeah. So if you've never thought about these things this way through the lens of these are people that are supporting you in the life that you're living, it's quite simple. All you have to do is think about if you lived in a cabin in the woods by yourself, would you have somebody else doing this for you? And if that is not the case, then that person is part of your community support team and you can curate them with intention based off of whatever criteria you feel is necessary. And then beyond that, if you are living a regular, mid whatever, wherever you are, life, I don't know what the word is. You're not living in a cabin in the woods, basically. You then can add on to your support team without any shame because you know that you don't have to do it all yourself. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say. The other reason why I wanted to elevate this conversation is many people think they have to do everything themselves. The message of individualism is so strong that it permeates us, in my mind, to a fault. And it leans us too heavily into a patriarchal, colonized, and hyper masculine way of showing up in the world. Where if you are watching this, you are probably a brown or Black woman, West Indian woman. And that is the opposite of how we are divinely created to show up. We are divinely created, like I said, to be more in our feminine, at least. Now, we don't get the social messaging to be in our feminine, but we are divinely created. Okay, so if you are trying to have a soft life, mental, spiritual, physical soft life, then listen to what I'm saying, because you don't have to do everything alone. Matter of fact, many of the messages that you are getting that you have to do it alone are trying to unprogram you from your natural bent. And you know it, and then they're trying to have you spend a bunch of time putting your attention on beating yourself up about not being able to accomplish something on your own that you are literally not designed to do on your own. You get to not follow that messaging. You get to not follow that messaging. Okay. Have you ever noticed that men will struggle to do something all by themselves because they don't want to tell people that they don't know how to do it? That's patriarchal messaging. Whereas women tend to be more collaborative. I think it's just wired into us. So I want to deprogram you from colonized, patriarchal, masculine messaging of individualism that will break you and that's going entirely against your divine design. Besides, many of the people who are telling you that you have to do it on your own, they did not do it on their own. Hydration. Many of the people, let me say that again, who are shouting from the rooftops that you have to do it on your own, they did not do it on their own. So you don't have to either. Maya says, I'm a recovering introverted individualist. And I think many of us are deprogramming ourselves from this. So let's just take a look at the people who you may already have in your life or the people who you could add to your life to reframe your concept of a personal care team. And if you have any idea, this is a group project. So it's not just me talking because I don't know all the answers. Throw your ideas in the comment section of people. So I'm going to start with, I put them in physical care, mental care, spiritual care, and then like social support overlapping. So I'm going to start with physical care. The first support member that most of us have that we overlook is a primary care physician, right? When it comes to physical care, it is common for us to have a doctor, and we don't look at that as supporting. However, if you lived in a cabin in the woods and something happened to you, you would be on your own. On your own. Why did it end this way? This wasn't how it was supposed to be. I know. I shouldn't have finished because I'm not a singer, but I had to get it out. Okay. So you have a primary care physician. You heard me say that my primary care physician is a woman. Okay. And that is intentional. I have not been able to find a black or brown woman primary care physician that works with all of the things that are working in my life, but I have aimed myself toward a woman. And that has made the conversations that I have in my primary care physician's office move more quickly in the direction that I need them to move. Okay. Especially when she and I have shared experiences and I don't have to explain to her what the heck I'm talking about or spend any time with somebody telling me it's not happening. It just doesn't happen. The next person in your physical care team is the dentist. Many of us have a dentist, right? It might be useful to look at these people as part of your support team. One, mostly for the reframing of it, because walking around thinking you are unsupported in a space where you are abundantly supported by other human beings could become a self-fulfilling prophecy where you are expecting lack of support. So you never look at your life as a place where you already have a thing and you can go and create more of it. I think I made a video once about how to get more of everything. And I think the 2 steps I gave you guys were to, one, mind your business, which was to arrest your attention and bring it back to your own business, stop comparing yourself to other people. And the second step I told you was to look at what you already have. And that's what we're doing today. The next person on my personal support team is a Black woman acupuncturist. Okay. I have been going to acupuncture for a couple years now. I began going to see if it would help with my physical anxiety symptoms. I had done so much psychological work and work in therapy and work in church and all this work about anxiety and all that. And although I cognitively understood that I was safe in situations where I felt unsafe in the past, I don't think my body got the memo. Okay. And I would have physical anxiety symptoms. I overheard Danny Ellison, who I will tell you about later, because ironically, I'm about to do a live guest coach session workshop with Danny Ellison in a week and a half for my membership at the pineapplecrowns.com. Check it out if you're interested. But I overheard her saying on a video that acupuncture had helped her. I went down the rabbit hole. I found a Black acupuncturist organization, national organization. I reached out to somebody, they emailed me back, and they put me together, connected me with a Black woman acupuncturist in the St. Louis metropolitan area. And I have been going to her for 2 years, and she has been amazing. Amazing. Okay. I am supported. I am supported. It just expedites the process when I don't have to explain lived experience things to her. For example, if I'm having a stress response about something happening in our national news, something happening in our political cycle, something happening in our XYZ, when I go into this Black woman's office, I don't have to spend a bunch of time explaining to her why me in this body is having that experience. And let me tell you what is the beautiful thing if you've never thought about it. The next person, I don't have one of these, but you can have a nail tech. I know you're going to be like, really, Rashni? Yes. Yes. If you lived in the woods by yourself, you'd be doing your nails by yourself, boo boo. If you lived in the woods by yourself, you'd be doing your nails by yourself. Another human being who is willing to, especially their feet, another human being who is willing to soak your feet and hands, grind off dead skin and nails. Think about that. Shape them, buff them, clean them, decorate them, hold them, rub them, scrub them. That is the support team. And I mean, we don't even look at that. One that just came to mind, I don't have it down, is a lash tech. You out here looking like Snuffleupagus. You out here looking like Sebastian in The Little Mermaid. Okay, beautiful for no reason, because there is a person who is willing to stand over your face. What if you got bad breath? And that woman is usually a woman. I haven't seen male lash techs. I've seen male nail techs, but there is a woman willing to individually, okay, individually put lashes on you, unless you're doing strips or clusters, but you know what I mean. That is such a like support experience so that you can physically show up in the world the way you want to so that when you wake up in the morning, you could wake up pretty. You know what I just thought of? This is why I'm saying this is a group project, you guys. Throw your ideas in the comments. My eyebrow lady. Okay. I don't know if you guys remember me telling you, these eyebrows have been tattooed onto my face. Okay. By a wonderful woman in St. Louis who I decided that the fact that my eyebrows were leaving my face was not the face I wanted to have when I woke up in the morning. Okay. And because of her, I wake up every morning with a frame on my face without having to draw it on. And being a sweaty me, when I go like this, I'm not wiping my eyebrows off. She has significantly contributed to my self-concept and me seeing the me I want to be when I wake up in the mirror. Hello? It's amazing. Oh, S. Oliver says, ooh, what was the name of that resource again for the Black acupuncturist? I don't remember the overarching group. I just remember there was a Black acupuncturist society or something, and I found them. Listen, those who seek will find, as Oliver. Okay, I was like, let me see if I could find. And there was a Black acupuncturist something, and there was a lady. I'll see if I can find it for you. But there was a lady, and I think I found a video. Went to another video. Went in her information box. Emailed her. It was the whole thing. She emailed me back. And I do not remember the organization, but I just remember that she was like, oh yeah. And she told me the woman's name who I work with now. So if I can find it, I will put it in the information box of this video. S. Oliver specifically, because YouTube doesn't really let us get back to each other in a good way. If you're on Instagram, inbox me on Instagram and say, hi, it's me. And then if I find the information, I will respond. Okay. Mindful Moments podcast. I live in the woods south of St. Louis, and my nail tech is absolutely part of my team. I know it is because I am not like I am a natural nails girly. Okay, a natural beauty. That gonna need no makeup to be a cutie, which is a lie because I have on makeup right now a little bit. Okay, I'm not that natural. But when it comes to nails, I used to do way back in the day. I used to do, what do you call them? Silk wraps. I used to do silk wraps on my own nails. I had a stand-in appointment with my nail tech, and I haven't really done much since. Most of that stopped when I had my son, who is a child with special needs, and I basically turned into a nurse. And if you know anything about nursing, it's very difficult, to keep your nails up. If you followed me for years on YouTube, you remember when I used to do nail polish videos. Okay, your girl has just not, it's not been a thing. But I see so many people, especially on TikTok, who have like the long nail girlies who like to get all the designs and stuff. You're not gonna tell me that people who are going in and spending $500, $600, $700, $800 on a nail tech to bring a design, a self-expression design out of their brain onto their fingernails, they're not supported. You're not gonna tell me that. Because that person gets to walk around with who they want to be expressed in the art on their nails. That is support. I mean, I know there's so many social reasons why people like to negate and downplay certain types of aesthetic choices, but come on now. Anyway, Who else? Hairstylists, of course. Not having to do your own hair is a support person. Ironically, I washed my hair yesterday. It had been in a puff that was just, when we just put our hair in a puff and we just be like, oh, well, I hope nobody can see this. My hair had been in that puff for a while because I was supposed to do it before my son's surgery. When I got the news, my brain shut off and I was like, screw this hair. So I text my friend and I was like, hello, braids. And she was like, yes, braids. And so yesterday I washed my hair, and underneath here is 4 big plait. Okay. And I'm going to go right after this video with you guys and be physically supported by my friend. And she's going to put some braids in my hair. Okay. And she has been part of my support team for years. She has put weaves in my hair. She has put braids in my hair, and she was the person that started my locks. Okay. And I'm going to be right over by her house in just a few hours with her right up in my head, supporting me. I went into the hair stash that we all have in our closet and picked, because Black women, we have hair. I don't know if you know that, but I got 5 bags of something right here. She about to braid up in there. That is part of my support team. What about a personal trainer? This is also part of physical support. A person whose knowledge can lead you toward the body that you want to have. Okay. I have a personal trainer. I'm not going to her right now, although I have befriended this woman. Okay. Because as I say this jokingly, but I'm also serious. Okay. I'm effing magnetic. It might not seem that way right now because I'm kind of like low energy today. But she and I have become friends, okay? So even though she's not currently my personal trainer because I am not working with her, I ain't got no money to give the woman personal trainer money right now in this season. She and I have been getting together on a weekly basis and going walking so we could run our mouths. Amen. And that is part of my support team. Not only that, she and I are working through do I have it in here? No. I told you guys I'm reading through We Should All Be Millionaires, that book by Rachel. I'm rereading through the book, and I'm doing the workbook. And my personal trainer / friend is now / my workbook partner person. Hello? Okay. I am supported. All right. Nutritionist. If you suck at figuring out healthy eating, if you did not have an example of consuming things that feed your body, literally and figuratively, if you have no idea how, somebody else can help you. Fun fact, if you have insurance, oftentimes there are dietitians and nutritionists that you can get to work with free from your insurance company if you just call and ask. So if you just don't know, and your mama don't know, and your auntie don't know, bless their hearts, they can't tell you, but you might have access to a person who could literally change your life through your nutrition and what you consume physically. I wrote down massage therapist. And if you guys can think of anybody else that is on your current physical care team, or you want to add to that team, drop it in the comment section wherever you're watching. Massage therapist. I need to get back to massage. Okay. As a mom of a son with special needs who is a non-ambulatory wheelchair user, which means the man can't walk. Okay. And you know what people do? They grow. So my son is 12, 7th grade, deep voice, tiny little mustache starting. 70 pounds. Wheelchair, 44-ish pounds. And I lift both. Hence me having a personal trainer, because honestly, when I went in for the support I needed, I was like, girl, I need you to make sure that it's a quality of life situation. I need you to make sure I could pick up my child. So a lot of my personal training was about care for my son and lifting, but also being a mom of a kid with special needs and all of that lifting and stuff it takes a toll on your body. And when I remember the shift from when I went to massage therapists back in the day, They never said anything. And then all of a sudden, when I had my son and I started having to pick him up as he got heavier, they would always comment on like how tight. Like, what do you do for a living? Because all up here. So I might need to bring a massage therapist back into the fray on a more consistent basis because that might be necessary. Chiropractor. I have a chiropractor. I have not been to him in years though, so I can't say if I have him. But once again, issues with knees, ankles, legs, and back prior to having my son that clearly is can be exacerbated when you have a child that you have to pick up all well, I don't want to say I have to pick him up all the time. I choose to be a mom who will carry her son for as long as I physically can. But I also have pre-existing back issues, which means I have a chiropractor. Okay. And he helped me many years ago, pre-pandemic. So right before the pandemic hit, I was working with him a lot. Dermatologist. You know what's wild about the dermatologist? I have a dermatologist right now. She's a brown woman. And she is helping me. I had like this thing happening on my chest. I didn't know what was going on. I still don't know what caused it, but I've been going to her recently. I've gone to her in the past, many years ago, but I've been going with her recently specifically to troubleshoot this. The other reason why I teamed up, added a dermatologist to my team is because your girl is 48 years old. Hello? And the skin is doing something else. I have read that we have three big jumps in our aging through our lifetime. Well, actually, there's four. So the first is as an infant, there's like a huge jump somewhere in there that they actually call like first puberty, but nobody really calls it that. The second jump is what we think of as puberty, which is where my son is right now, that like preteen jump. The third huge jump in aging is mid 40s. And it has to do with hormonal changes in women specifically, but it's in men and women. And that's where I am right now. And then the last one I've read of is like late 60s. That jump from the beginning of your 40s to the end of your 40s, which is where I am, is like, who is that? Like you start looking in the mirror and you're just like, who, what? Your skin starts doing something different. Your brain starts doing something different. Your body fat the body fat starts doing something different. It starts responding to things differently. Listen, dermatologist. When I was in the office with her, I was like, listen, girl, this is the plan. This is what I want to see when I look in the mirror. What should I do to create that? That was our conversation. And she and I had our little situation. She gave me what I needed to know. And then I have a follow-up with her. Mindful Moments podcast says, what are your thoughts on helping people who rely too heavily on us for support to seek and build community? When you say on us, give me a little bit more detail to your question. And if you want, give me an example so I can answer your question more thoughtfully. The last one I wrote down for physical care, which was something that totally popped up in my head right before this, was a midwife. Okay. Before we all had our babies in hospitals, women collaborated on bringing life into the world with each other. We collaborated on the prenatal care. We collaborated on the actual birth. We collaborated on the postnatal care and experience for the mom and the children. Unfortunately, living in westernized societies where individualism is lauded and promoted, we have lost a lot of that. One of the ways that you can bring that community support aspect back into your specific experience as a mom, becoming a mom, or afterward, is to intentionally look for a midwife, even a doula, prior to birth, during birth, after birth. There are also people who are doulas, sometimes they come with other names, who will help you with babies after the fact. If you go online, you will find videos of the nurses that are overnight nurses that come to help care for the baby so that the mom can get some rest. You know, another thing I just thought of is you can collaborate with other people It doesn't have to be a profession, although a lot of the ones I'm writing down are professions. You could look at the list I just gave you as an example, and maybe you have a friend who, I don't know, you have a friend who can do the massages, and like you can do her massages and she can do your nails. You could do her hair and she can do your lashes, right? And that's part of your support team. I've also, not only are there birth doulas, there are death doulas. And if I'm being honest, the latter is of interest to me. Helping people and families transition from a physical lived experience to the end of the physical lived experience is fascinating to me. And all of the physical, spiritual, mental support that is needed is very fascinating to me. All right, Mindful Moment says, us equal Black women in their 30s with large families, parents, siblings, extended family. I hope that helps. I'm not a parent, but I am very involved aunt of 10 littles. Okay, so what are my thoughts on helping people who rely too heavily on Black women in their 30s with large families for support to seek and build community? I'm not still not 100% sure, but what I would say, my understanding of your question is, my thoughts are, it doesn't matter what people are seeking from you, it matters what you give to them. People can't make you do anything. Does that make sense? So I would ask, whenever I look for a solution, I bring my attention back to self, not to blame, but to accept accountability for any part that I'm playing in the thing. My question to you would be, what does it matter that they're asking you for the thing? The messaging for Black women is that we are to be the mule and to do the serving and to self sacrifice for the greater good of all the humans. You can choose to reject that. You can choose to reject that. Okay. I had a coaching client one time. She's a single woman, and I could see we were one-on-one coaching, and I could see as clear as day that her family was going to be like, you have to take care of your siblings' children because you don't have none of your own and you're X age and this is your life situation and your life is one of service. And I warned her profusely. I was like, listen, this is so obvious to me that this is going to happen to you that I need to warn you. You're telling me you want this outcome in your life. This family system is going to come to you and say, serve us. Who cares what you want? You have to take on the service role. And I was like, do not do it when it happens. Of course it happened. And she came back and she was like, girl, if you were not so spot on. And I was like, girl, it's so predictable. But the question is more, people could come to you and you know how people say it's not what people call you, it's what you answer to. It's that. It's like, isn't that, girl? Of course they're going to come tell you to do all the things, especially if you don't have no kids of your own. That's really when they be like, oh, you have all the free time in the world. No, I do not. Okay. All right. So let's go to mental health. Mental health care team can include somebody like a therapist. I told you guys I specifically have a Black woman therapist, and that is with intention. Psychiatrist, right? Life coach, which is what I am. I work with Black and West Indian women on their healing journeys. I have a coaching membership. It is thepineapplecrowns.com. The link is on the screen and in the top of the information box. And I provide self-paced courses about topics to help on your healing journey. There is a private community, and we also have monthly group coaching calls. I heard you were looking for me. Here I go. I'm right here. I'll tell you more about what's coming up with that at the end of the video. Support groups. Mental health can be a isolating experience. There's so much shame and stigma attached to the idea that you may be having some mental health issue. And so, ironically, when you isolate yourself with your mental health issue, it makes it even harder for you to create positive outcomes. One of the most powerful things I have figured out is if I want to know more about whether I am the only person having an experience, I look for a Facebook group about that thing. And inevitably, whatever thing I think is happening in my life, whatever experience I think I'm having and I'm the only person having it, whatever support I think I need, there is inevitably a small and or large Facebook community with people hyper focused on talking about providing solutions, resources, and support for that specific thing. It has not failed me yet. For all of the negatives that social media can bring into our lives, if you are a curating person, an intentional person, and a creator, things don't happen to you, you happen to them. You can use Facebook communities, Facebook groups specifically, in such a powerful way. I have had so many experiences. One coming to mind, I'm trying to figure out how to say it without saying it. So I looked up a group because that's one of the first things I do when I need like support in certain areas. I look for people having a similar lived experience. And social media is 2024. It is so much easier for us to find people having our experience, good, bad, or indifferent. If you want to find out how to become a camel breeder, I promise you it's probably a group about Black women camel breeders. And if they don't exist and you start the group, people are going to join it because you are not the only person on this planet and you're going to find them. I had went to a group specifically to support my experience. And I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Let me make here. This is how I'm gonna say it. This is I got it. I'm gonna make a fictitious version of the thing. Okay, let's pick a thing. Okay, here's the example. Narcissistic personality disorder. Let's go with that. Okay. So I had just gotten hip to the concept of narcissistic personality disorder. This is all fictitious, by the way. And I also was wanting to understand how to live and experience with someone who I knew who had gotten the diagnosis. So I skipped my happy butt over to Facebook and I look for support like I always do. And I type in the things and I find a group about narcissistic personality disorder. Okay. Like I said, fictitious, but this is a good example. So I joined the group and I'm in the group and I am just getting triggered. I'm not posting anything. I'm just a reading away. I am lurking and getting the support by information at that point, not by community, because that's another level. One level is just to glean information from a space, but don't add to it. Another level is when you are looking for support is to actually contribute to and interact with the space. Okay. That's a higher level. Okay. I'm in there getting triggered. So I go to my therapist at the time, and the therapist was like, girl, you do not need to be in a group with narcissists and people trying to understand narcissists, because the group had both in there. She was like, you already understand what it's like to be around narcissists. That's why you in the group. You need a support space that only has the people who are trying to understand them. You do not need to be in a space with the narcissist as well. So I chucked the deuces on that group. And I literally looked for another group that was like, I forgot what it was because I'm not even in that group anymore, but it was like family members of, and I don't know, whatever, of people who have the narcissistic personality disorder. So much better. Oh my God. And then from that group, I found a better support group that was even more specified, and it was a coaching membership that I joined and participated in. So mental health care can be very much from a therapist and a psychiatrist and all of these people. It can also be self-driven by researching support groups And you know what? I'm not going to say Facebook is the only way. I just think Facebook is the quickest way and it's my preferred way because I'm a virtual led person. But I'm sure you can look up support groups in your area. The only problem with support groups in your area is when you anchor it to a physical space, it is less likely for you to be able to find people having a comparable lived experience unless you live in an extremely diverse and highly populated place, like maybe New York or something like that. Okay. But when in doubt, look up your thing online and don't just sit there thinking that you are isolated and you are the only person having an experience. Um, if you want to learn about how to be on a healing journey, there are life coaches for that. If you want to learn about boundaries, I'm right here. You looking for me? If you want to learn about mindfulness, my friend Galanda, she just started her YouTube. Well, she just picked back up her YouTube channel. She is a mindfulness strategist. If you want to learn about art therapy, there's somebody for that. If you want to learn about music therapy, there's somebody for that. Whatever mental health support you need, look for the comparable human to help you, and do not feel any kind of way about being very specific about which characteristics of that human you desire to expedite the process. Okay, spiritual care. People on your spiritual care team can look like your religious leader, right? For many Black American women, that is your pastor. Amen. Abba Shorobosaya and all of that good stuff. All right. Um, there's so much I could say about that. However, be intentional about the spiritual leaders that you choose to partner with, which means you get to choose who you partner with. Okay. Um, if you are defaulted into any spiritual practice and you are now an adult, be sure that the person that you are choosing to follow is going to move you in the direction of the divine life you believe you are supposed to be having. Do you see how pretty I said that? Religious leaders also include people like rabbis and imams and all these people, okay? We all out here. You got to pick who you are going to follow. And I want to say that you get to do that. And I also want to say that that person is part of your support team, which may be a huge reframe for people. I know it was for me. Okay. Um, and that's all I'm going to say about that. If you want to learn about meditation, I believe meditation is, I used to say meditation was practice peace. Now I have evolved my understanding that meditation is actually practice focus. It's practiced focus. It's the ability to bring your attention to a point of focus over and over when you want to. And that contributes to your peace, because when you practice meditating when you don't need it, then when you are in a scenario where your spirit is all awry and you're all over the place and your attention's all over the place and you're chaotic and you're coming asunder, your meditation practice, like muscle memory, like spiritual memory, can bring you back to the focus that you meditated on all those previous times. Okay. If you want to learn meditation, find somebody to support you. If you want to learn yoga, find somebody to support you. If you want to practice energy stuff, I don't know a lot about it. I know Reiki has something to do. I don't know. But listen, if that is something that you feel will be supportive for you and the life you want to create, the divinely aligned life you believe, your specific divinely aligned life can be uniquely supported by your community care choices. Curate your support team based off of the divine life that you are creating. Okay. And that could be an energy person, Some people are into astrology. I'm not really like into astrology. I don't know. But I know some people that is very important to them. And the last thing that I wrote down with respect to a personal care, community care team are your social support spaces. Okay. For me, that looks like um I have had business coaches in the past. I don't think I have it. Do I have a business coach now? No, I do not have a business coach now. I am in a coaching certification program though. So I guess you could call that some kind of support space. I have well, three if you count my personal trainer. I have three business accountability partners who I meet with on a consistent basis, specifically to open up about, get feedback on, and move my business choices forward, curating them in the way that I desire, which is one of flow and peace, right? And that light me up and that help me help other women heal, that give me the impact that I desire. I have three, right? Like I said, I'm actually doing accountability stuff with the lady that was my personal trainer. Other support systems include, and I mean, this is a huge one that we don't even talk about a lot, but clearly family groups, family, obviously, right? But even subgroups in family. I have, let me give you this example. I have a group of cousins who these are all female cousins. We all came together because one of our parents, sibling parents, was ill. And that specific cousin was not getting the support she desired from her siblings. So we all came together and we started a group, right? Since then, which was probably like 7 to 8 years ago, every single one of our sibling parents has gotten sick and died. So at the beginning of the group, all of our sibling parents were alive, and we just started the group to help her. But since then, over just short of a decade, we have become a integral part of each other's day-to-day support in difficult and beautiful moments over time. Listen, unintentionally, providentially, synchronicity. I don't know what the word is, okay? And they are a huge part of my day-to-day community care team. They are part of my mental health team. They are part of my spiritual health team. They are part of my social support team. Okay? I am able to go into a space with these women and speak my whole, full, true self and feel seen and belong. And I feel teary eyed saying it. Okay. And that is a gift where I get to show up whole and be met there by a community of women who did not have to show up that way, because it's not all of my cousins. It's a specific bubble of us that showed up for a thing and showed out for a thing and became part of my community care team. And that goes the same for non-family groups. I've done whole series about friendships, which is a complex experience many of us have and sometimes are can have challenges creating. And that is what I just described, a comparable version of platonic friendships, right? Where you choose each other each day and create an intentional space of belonging where you do life together, where you do life together. And if I'm being honest, I have had over the years that experience. I This whole video has been me speaking slow and thinking hard, okay? I've had that experience that was chosen and curated by my unhealthy self. There it is. Mhm. So the me that so many of you guys have heard me talk about, the people pleasing, da da da, Rushni, dissociated, this, that, and that other Rushni who had no oars in the water, who wasn't thinking for herself, whose trauma was so present, and yet I was so unaware of it, picked a lot of my social interactions. And so I had that experience. And then when my healing began, there was a lot of coming asunder. There was a lot of shaking and people going their separate ways, and me realizing that I could not be around experiences that were actually unhealthy anymore, right? And then the season of feeling alone and now curating with intention, with my eyes open, without dissociating from a more healed and whole vantage point of view. A group of friends where I can show up whole. Because here's the thing, I'm gonna say this. Brene Brown makes a distinction between belonging and, is it acceptance? I don't remember. I'm going to use the word acceptance. And in her words, acceptance is like you have to be just like me to be accepted. Belonging is you can show up as yourself. So we all get to be our unique selves and we belong. And I don't know if the word is acceptance, but I'm just going to use it for example. But acceptance is like we all have to basically be carbon copies of each other. I've spent many years in the acceptance space. These are the criteria for how you get to belong in this space. And if you check them off, you're great. And if you don't check them off, you need to kind of hide them. Okay. And we off that. We don't do that. Okay. I'm breathing on 50s neck. Nobody has the time. So I've kind of like bust through that, moved over. And now I'm in the space of like being 1% more Rushni every single day and finding the social support spaces for platonic friendship that allow that and letting myself show up for other people that way too. Okay. Which, if I'm being honest, is refreshing, sometimes scary. It's vulnerable. It's fun. It feels playful. It feels like wholeness showing up to create a community care experience for myself and for others that allows us to be us. And I'm in the process of that. That is not like some finished work thing that I'm in. That is intentional, in the process type of thing. Hi, Marissa. I didn't even look down. Hey, Alicia. Hi. Yeah. So those are the examples of a personal care, a community care group. And there are so many more that I did not list clearly. If you watch this on the replay, hello, please drop your ideas for people that you could add to a support team in the comment section down below. And this is not an exhaustive list, but I was hoping by this video to give you all the reframe that you do get to have you do already have other people in your life that are supporting you to create the life that you want. You do get to intentionally curate those people so that you expedite your experience. Like I said earlier, you don't just have to default into anything. And if you find yourself defaulting into things, you may want to step back and ask yourself why, as well as how could I curate this experience to get me where I want to be and not just default. And you get to add more people to your community care team. It does not have to fit any mold. One of my favorite types of content lately are the content where people are like, when they realize they have free will. And, I've seen funny ones. Like there was one where this lady was like cutting up her cucumber. And then she said, when you realize you have free will, and then she just picked up the cucumber and bit it in the side. And then there was one where she was like washing the strawberries and like cutting the little ends off. And then she kind of was like, oh, I have free will. I don't have to do it this way. And she just crushed the strawberry in her hand and then like shoved it in her mouth. And there was another one that I saw online where this woman wrote a story on Facebook about how she had been crippled because she felt like she was stuck. So she was like psychologically crippled. And she went to someone, I don't remember who it was. Let's just say it was a therapist. And she told the therapist, and the therapist was like, well, what do you need help with right now? And she said, I didn't want to tell them because it seemed like such a little thing, and they were like, no, tell me. So the person who went said, the dishes are overwhelming me. I feel like such a failure. I can't even get up and do the dishes. I can't, like, I got to scrub the pots. I got to do it. And I can't. And the therapist told him, okay, well, run the dishwasher twice. And they were like, what? And they were like, okay, if you don't want to have to rinse the stuff off the dishes, put the dishes in the dishwasher, girl, and just run it as many times as you need to get the dishes clean. And this person said, this was another example of realizing that they had free will. This person was like, I had never thought about that because my brain was like, I have to stand up. I have to scrub the dishes before I put them in. I have to. And you don't have to do anything. So of course, the end of that story is they put the dishes in the dishwasher. They ran the dishwasher 3 times and the dishes were clean. And then that understanding that they have free will to experience life however they want to figure it out however they want to, freed them to ask other questions. This shows up a lot in women, for example, who have decided to co-live. I know of a couple places where people will get houses together, get apartments together, buy tiny homes in like proximity to each other, get apartments in the same, 2 on one floor, 2 on another floor, and basically live together. I know people who share appliances like the vacuum. I know who, like, they buy one. And so just remember that your community care can be curated from your imagination, and it can fly entirely in the face of the check boxes that you think everything is supposed to fit under. And that is super freeing because that means that you get to, one, ask the question of what do I need? And all you need to find is one other human that's willing to do it with you. You do not need the okay of anyone outside of you to do a thing that would offer the support and care that you need if you find just one more human being to do it with you. And I promise, if you're courageous enough to ask, there's probably more than one person willing to do it with you. Maya says, I suggest hobby care. For example, writing. There are tons of local and online writing groups. It makes me sad when new writers say they don't know any writers. Yeah. Get online. Look for your people online. They are probably there, and that is probably the quickest way to find them. And then also use online resources or local resources to find local groups. People who seek find. People who seek will find. If you look, you're going to find them. If you sit down and you say they don't exist, you're not looking, you're not going to find. You have 100% chance of not finding them if you sit down and say they don't exist and you're all by yourself. You have theoretically a 50% chance of finding them if you at least look. Be very vocal. Be courageous enough to say what you want. Be courageous enough to say what you want. Post it on your Facebook page, mention it in conversations with people, search it on Google, look through the little newspaper you get at your house before you throw it in your trash, search meetup.com, search Facebook for a group. If you look, you're going to find something. And even if you don't find the thing you're looking for, just like the Facebook group I told you guys about, where I went from the one group with the narcissist to the next group that was just support for narcissists to finally the coaching group, it's going to alley-oop you in the direction that you probably want to go if you curate it with intention. I don't know if this video went the way I thought it was going to go, but it went, okay? And so hopefully anyone watching this or anyone watching on the replay has some inspiration for creating their own personal and community care teams. If you would like to work with me as your coach, you can visit thepineapplecrowns.com. I actually reopened my coaching membership because my son's surgery has been rescheduled. So there is a short little blip where the coaching membership is reopened and it closes on the 9th. It closes on September 9th. And that is specifically if you would like to join the membership so that you can attend the live workshop that I'm hosting with reparenting coach Danny Ellison. She is going to come and talk to the members live on September 8th about narcissism and healing the mother wound. So if you would like to speak to Danny Ellison, who is a reparenting coach that works with Black women going no contact with narcissistic mothers, and she is coming to do a workshop on September 8th in my Pineapple Crown membership group about narcissism, which is her specialty, and healing the mother wound, then you have two options. You can either go to thepineapplecrowns.com and become a member, and you will get the membership pricing, the monthly membership pricing, or the annual if you want to do annual. And you will get access to all the other resources in the membership too, as well as access to Danny's live workshop, as well as access to Danny's pre-recorded workshop, which is part of the Healing the Mother Wound course in the group. So there's so much information for you. Also, I realize that some people might not want to become a member. So if you are interested in just attending the workshop one-off, there is a link in the information box of the video, wherever you are watching, to come and attend the workshop solo dolo. That link exists. There are a few more links in the information box. And as always, the coaching calendar is available so you can see what is happening next. You guys, my son's surgery was rescheduled. It was a lot. It is what it is. I'm sure if you've been following me, you see that the life I live, this is the life of a special needs mom of a child that has significant medical needs. Okay. Overall, he is doing well. He is downstairs. And this morning when I got him ready, he was like, Mommy, I would have been in surgery. And I was like, you are correct. And you are not in surgery right now because today would have been the surgery day. Okay. We press, we move forward, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until the next video, you're welcome, Maya. Be well, you guys. Be encouraged. Here's a pineapple. Bye. I'm going to go get my hair done. Community care.